So this one right here, this is a tough one because I know these teachers are working so hard with these kids. Got a story here about students for the fourth straight year. No student tests proficient in math in this Baltimore high school. That's bad. That's really really bad. But man, I know. Hey, I'm in St. Louis. But I know for sure that these teachers are busting their butts, doing the very best that they can. And it's not about blame. It's just, if you know, you know. This is tough.
A Fox 45 investigation has uncovered yet another stunning failure in Baltimore City Public Schools when it comes to academic outcomes. As Project Baltimore's Chris Phapps explains, despite a dramatic increase in funding, we found one city high school that has not had a single student test proficient in math in 4 years.
Carl Stokes is a former Baltimore City Council member and charter school operator.
You're shaking your head.
Well, of course. I mean, how long have we been talking about this?
Stokes,
These students are in need.
for years,
They just can't miss a third of the school year.
has been speaking out against the lack of education
Upstairs is corrupt,
for many students in Baltimore City public schools.
and they do a horrible job.
Now, Stokes is responding to what Fox 45 discovered in the recently released results for the state test known as MCAP, the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program.
That school should be closed.
Achievement Academy at Harbor City is a high school in Northeast Baltimore. According to MCAP data analyzed by Project Baltimore, Achievement Academy has not had a single student test proficient in math in 4 years. Over the last 4 school years, 134 students at the school have taken the state math exams. Not one scored proficient.
It says that the leadership is worthless, pretty much. They are failing their mission. They are failing the students.
City Schools on its website defines Achievement Academy as an alternative placement school for students who struggle in traditional academic settings. The school's vision, according to its website, is to cultivate lifelong learners and productive citizens. And the school gets a lot of your money to achieve that vision. According to state data in 2021, Achievement Academy received more than $20,000 for each one of its 372 students. By 2024, Achievement had an enrollment of 202 and received more than $42,000 per student. In other words,
Whoa. I think that right there, that says that is saying a lot of things. That's saying a lot of things there, and that's not good for this community. That's not good for this community because, man, obviously the question is about the return on investment, and as teachers, we know we feel the heat sometimes from people who aren't teachers who just don't understand. Like, hey, you guys get paid well, you get the summers off, you get the winter break, you get spring break. Yeah, we pay you all this money. Where are the results? You don't deserve a raise. Fewer students, double the money, but the same results. That you cannot have that. You cannot have that. And I started the video by talking about I know the teachers are working hard. I know that they're in the trenches doing the hard work. But and I agree with the gentleman who was speaking, as a leader, you cannot have this. You've got to get something done. You've got to have something to show for this increase in spending. You can't, as a leader, you You can't do it. It's not acceptable to go and say you can't be the face of this. You can't be the leader. You can't be the leader responsible for this.
Words. Over those 4 school years, Achievement Academy's per student funding more than doubled. And still, not one student over those years tested proficient in math.
When you look at a school like Achievement,
That's just you just have to do it. I don't like to see people lose their jobs. I like stability. I like giving leaders a chance, but you cannot have that. You need new leadership. You can't have that. That's awful. That was an ugly statistic.
Academy, and you look at the amount of money it's getting,
Sure.
and the education the students apparently aren't getting, who do you hold accountable?
Your whole leadership. So you start with North Avenue headquarters. You begin with that leadership, from superintendent, CEO, and her cabinet, and then the local school leadership.
Achievement Academy's principal last school year was Kristen Taylor, who's been with City Schools for 19 years. According to City Schools' 2024 employee database, Taylor made nearly $150,000 in total earnings. Fox 45 requested an interview with City Schools to discuss math scores at Achievement Academy. The district declined and instead sent a statement which does not even mention student outcomes. This statement says nothing about 0 students being proficient in math and how the district plans to improve the quality of education. Instead, the statement focuses on the money, saying City Schools calculates per pupil funding differently than the state. Writing, MSDE figures include central office and district-wide costs, not just school-level spending, and therefore should not be interpreted as what a school actually spends per student.
What is the answer?
Accountability.
So
Starting with
What is the answer?
School actually spend.
So he's right about that. Yeah, accountability is right because everyone should be held accountable. I do want to point this out here. There's a number of factors, and it's crazy that they didn't talk about the achievement of the kids because that's most important. Here is just them. A lot of it is them defending themselves from that number, which is it looks really, really bad. You're spending double the money, but get the same results for fewer students. That's bad. Now, here, this is interesting because they're giving you some of the why. Achievement Academy primarily serves students. Students. What about those students that you serve? Who are over age? Okay, so maybe 5th, 6th year seniors. They're not really feeling it. They're not sure. They haven't really made a commitment to finishing this thing because they're over age. Under accredited, they just don't have all the credits. They see no end in sight. They made some bad decisions or have faced disruptions such as juvenile justice involvement. And so that is important to keep in mind. Okay. And because what that is going to mean is that their attendance is going to be spotty. And I know what it's like to work in a school where you're begging students to come to school. Because if they don't come to school, I can't teach them. What am I supposed to do? So I get that's the reality. And so, yeah, that is a challenge. But I would say you have to find a way. Like these challenges, they're not new. They're not a surprise. You knew it was coming. And so what I would say is, how do we keep it so that we don't have as many students that need this program? This is more of a program, not an actual school, but I mean it looks like they have a physical building. They're separated, and so it's counted as a school. And so those numbers matter. Period. Doesn't matter. Those numbers matter. This is a school, and they chose to put this program in place for these students with these circumstances. Now it's your job, holding you accountable. It's your job to teach them. To not have any of them score proficient in 4 years in math, that's unacceptable, and that also speaks to possibly some concerns going on in the typical high schools that are in this district as well. All right, let's keep going.
Per student.
What is the answer?
Accountability, starting with the elected officials holding school officials accountable.
What does that look like?
At some point, you have to withhold money in terms of increases, salaries, etc., and withhold promotions. And finally, you must dismiss persons who don't meet the standard that you're trying to get to for these young people.
Also, take a look at this. This is the school ranking website from the Maryland State Department of Education. Every year, every public school in the state gets a ranking of a low of 1 star to a high of 5 stars. Achievement Academy gets 2 stars. This school, which has not produced a single student in 4 years who's proficient in math, according to MSDE, is not one of the lowest performing schools in the state. I'm Chris Papp.
That part right there is that's scary. That's scary. So this is an interesting story. We're going to keep an eye on this, and as any updates come of it, I will share them with you. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next update.